All right, everyone. We are 7 games into the regular season, and we've got some things we like. We've got some things we dislike about our team. It's time for some first impressions. Welcome to the Mets Weekly Roundtable.
This is Frank Cugino from Frank About Sports.
What's going on, guys? Andrew Acevedo back.
What's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name.
What is going on, everybody? This is Metsfan from YouTube.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm TonyMetro.
Big Apple Banter Media here with the Leas. That's weekly.
Mets Weekly.
Mets Weekly. Mets Weekly.
Mets Weekly.
Welcome to Mets Weekly. All right, we know the drill by now, but you know what? Let the guys introduce themselves as per usual. Andrew Acevedo, you're up first.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, content's been pretty much just post games. Probably I gotta probably working on a video talking about a specific topic. We'll dig into today. We'll probably have that, but mostly just post games. Have one tomorrow for the home opener, and maybe some gaming streams once in a while. But playoffs starting up. The NHL playoffs are starting up in a couple weeks, and the Mets are pretty much my main content.
Okay, Frank About Sports.
Yeah, Frank About Sports, occasional live streams reacting to breaking news. If there's something big going on in baseball, things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Mets Talk with Hayden.
What's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Been doing a lot of live streams these the last couple days, so definitely feel free to check me out. And let's go Mets.
All right, and finally, TonyMetro.
I suck. I have not posted in a long time, but you guys know the deal. Videos about rumors, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Check out the channel. But I'm just happy to be on Mets Weekly consistently with the boys here. This is the most fun I have with my YouTube stuff. So glad that you guys are tuning into this.
All right. Well, before we get into it, I'm sure everybody knows the drill by now, but we got to get over, go over the hump as per usual. Make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly channel, like the stream, turn on those post notifications to never miss our live roundtable show every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, almost lost it there. Okay, anyway, also make sure to join our Discord. Follow everyone individually. The links are in the description. If you guys have a question you'd like to ask, make sure to leave it in the chat, and we will be sure to answer it throughout the show. Now, but other than that, I think we'll just get right into it. The Mets currently stand at 5-2 with the best record in baseball, I think, currently. One game and a half over Philly after taking 2 out of 3. So the last couple of days were rocky, but we did get 2 out of 3, so that's good. But let's actually talk about the manager, which is Buck Showalter. Let's put it out on the table. Let's see our first impressions of Buck Showalter. I'm going to start with Andrew Acevedo. Buck Showalter, first impressions.
I mean, he's a veteran manager like we expected. I mean, at least he's watching the game. He's got up to the top step a bunch of times. Luis Rojas would always just sit in his little corner and never move. So at least he's watching the games. Obviously, it's the bullpen decision. How on using the bullpen is my biggest thing, and I'm hoping this is just an April thing where he's trying to get everybody work and save arms. Like this, when the guy does his job, like Joely Rodriguez is a perfect example. He gets Kyle Schwarber out to get the final out of the inning. Why are you bringing him back out for the second inning to go against Real Muto and Harper? Yes, you have a lefty and Harper do up, but you also have Chase and Shreve who has better numbers against righties. But I'm hoping that is just in April trying to we'll bring them out just to try to save as many arms as possible. I'm just hoping that's just an April thing. Obviously, the extended spring. This is kind of still an extended spring training. Guys are not as sharp if you're looking around the league. Most pitchers aren't as sharp. Besides, I think there's only one. Nobody's pitched well. Burns, I think, is the only guy who's pitched to what Corbin Burns is expected to. So pitchers overall, still getting the funk, and hopefully once we get into May and in June, this coming out for a second inning is like, okay, you did your job, thank you, move on, go to the next arm and move on. That's my only biggest thing with it. The lineups, he really hasn't done stupid things. Yes, he said he's wanted to get everybody, so getting Guillorme a day and Janikowski a day a start. Okay, again, this could be kind of an extending spring training. Hey, get everybody at least involved in the season. I'm hoping once we get to end of April to May, we see more of what he's going to be down the stretch.
All right, Mets talk with Hayden. Buck Showalter so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's had an interesting, first couple days of an impression, I guess. Obviously, big surprise. His bullpen decisions may have been a little peculiar, kind of what to echo on what Andrew said, whether it's putting a guy in to face one more extra batter or, listen, I don't want to, penalize, I guess, Showalter, too much. I think a lot of it definitely has to do with a lot of your starting rotation getting, less innings, obviously. I mean, Taijuan only went, 4 innings? Scherzer only went 5 innings or 6 innings because he was topping out at 70, 80 pitches. So, you're giving the bullpen a lot of innings to pitch than, maybe what we're, hopeful for. But, I think Showalter's been okay. I was kind of, speaking to some of you guys individually. I know Frank and I were talking, and, when it comes to the lineup produced every day. And, last year, I mean, at this time, we were saying, Rojas, what are we doing with this? What are we doing with that? Whatever. I'm not crazy about him giving guys like Guillorme and, these fourth outfielders, whoever, Jankowski. I'm not crazy about them getting more playing time. I understand why they're doing it. You had a shortened spring training, so you don't want to get these guys injured like, that. But you want to give them more reps. Obviously, you look at this roster. McNeil, he had that hamstring issue. Nimmo, he had the neck issue. So I understand that you want to keep these guys healthy. So putting Jankowski in, putting Guillorme in, but no offense, they're not going to give you offense. They're not. They're 8th, 9th inning defensive adjustment guys, and that's what they should be. I don't want them getting, I want to see your Alonsos, your Nimmos, your Lindors getting 150 starts at least per season. And as of right now, are we going to see that, or are we going to see 130? That better not be the case. So as of right now, I think he's been okay. I mean, I'd give him a 6 out of 10.
Okay. TonyMetro, Buck Showalter.
Yeah, putting all the stuff on the field aside, because I think that we could go around in circles talking about whether he should be playing Guillorme more or less or whatever, and the bench guys and the bullpen usage. I'm just glad we got a manager that knows what the hell he's doing and commands respect. And it's been pretty obvious here 7 games in, and that knows what's going on with his team. That is so different than what we have had since Terry Collins left. Say what you want about Terry Collins as an in-game manager. He knew every single speck of dust that fell on the clubhouse floor. And that's the same with Buck Showalter. Last year, and I know a lot of people aren't a fan of WFAN. I listen to it more for the comedy than anything, but they interviewed Buck Showalter today. That guy knows what he's talking about. He knows everything that's going on. We heard so many times about his attention to detail during spring training, and I kind of hate the phrase, but it's true. Last year, they interviewed on WFAN Luis Rojas. He didn't even know that Chili Davis had gotten fired after the 20th something game, okay? We have a legitimate manager. We saw him go out there, and I'm not all big on the whole huff and puff his chest out when the Nats kept hitting the Mets. I'm not even giving him credit for that. I'm just saying he's defended the team. He's shown backbone, and he clearly is getting this team all on the same page. And that's not something that I could have said about Mickey Callaway or about Luis Rojas. So in that regard, I got to give a big A to Buck Showalter so far.
All right, Frank, Buck Showalter.
Yeah, I mean, other than everything that's been covered, I just want to touch on the multi-inning use of relievers. I think that's something that I'm guessing it's an experiment, but I think we're really going to find out once the rosters are not expanded. Because right now you have the 28 guys who could play around a little bit. That's why Sean Reed Foley is here, and we wonder, we imagine Sean Reed Foley is going to be one of the guys that goes. Who's going to be that second guy is the thing that I'm really wondering. I'm guessing it's Joely Rodriguez because, I mean, what position players could you really get rid of? Those are literally your only backups for those particular positions since, 3 of those guys can only play one position, but that's besides the point. And I just think that what happened with Trevor May, I don't want to see that happen again to another reliever where Trevor May, when they interviewed him after the game, he literally said, you're pitching whatever, and then you sit down, and then going right back out there is what led to his arm really tightening up on him. Even though he only threw 12 pitches, it's just the whole idea, they call it up downs. It was a cold day or whatever. He's just not accustomed to it. There are guys, you don't all of a sudden do it in the regular season. If in spring training, Trevor May was going multiple innings or, whoever else was going multiple innings, Drew Smith, for example, he went 2 innings. Luckily, he didn't get hurt. I just don't want to see this be a routine thing where you see these guys get hurt. And if you are going to make them go multiple innings, well, that means that you're not going to have them available for multiple days. And if you don't have those 2 extra roster spots, what is the bullpen going to look like, by the time May, June comes? How is he going to manage the different guys? So I'm curious to see if that's a trend that continues. I just don't want to see anyone else get hurt. Luckily, Trevor May is going to be back hopefully this weekend, but I don't want to see it become a bigger thing. And the other thing is just, I talked about all spring training, but how much he plays Robinson Cano. I mean, he batted him third the other day, and of course the Mets lost that game, but I just don't like that he's just so entitled to Cano, and it's like, he just hasn't deserved it. He hasn't earned it. So I don't know why he just feels the need to play this guy as much as he does and bat him in the spots in the order he does. Like, he bats over Mark Canha and guys like that just because of lefty righty. So I haven't been crazy about that either. But for the most part, everything is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I personally just, at this point, what I'd like in the manager is how he controls the clubhouse. And he pretty much has a good grip on that. We saw what happened with Luis Rojas. I mean, if you want to bring up the whole incident with McNeil and Lindor, I mean, he didn't even know. He said, I don't know what happened. I was asleep. Medication kicked in early. So, I mean, at this point, every manager makes those certain mistakes. He also had a bullpen that was very short-handed with Diaz going out, and then they also had May go down as well. So I don't know, but I like it. I like the type of. I mean, I know Andrew, you hate this word, but culture that he's bringing into this clubhouse. But it's a lot more refreshing than the Luis Rojas, the Mickey Callaway, where they're just spineless robots. I just think Buck has a pulse and he's not afraid to show it. So that's what I do like about him, and I haven't really had many complaints so far about him. Anything else we can add on Buck Showalter? I know there's a lot to unpack with him, but other than that.
Yeah, really quick, adding on to that whole idea of not being a spineless robot, like even in this interview today, and take it with a grain of salt if you want, but he doesn't just sound like a company man that's towing, the company line. Like, it actually sounds like his actual thoughts and like organic thinking. It doesn't just sound like the regurgitated bullshit that Mickey Callaway and Luis Rojas were basically forced to say. I mean, like, this guy actually seems like he has a brain. Like, wow, who would have thought that was maybe the first requisite of being a major league manager? But that's my opinion on it, and I have a lot of faith in him early on.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of faith, there was a question mark at the top of our rotation, but Tylor Megill, he has been incredible after getting the unexpected opening day start. Megill has thrown 10.1 scoreless innings, with his fastball velocity rising all the way up to 99 miles an hour at some points. This 6'7" building of a man. I mean, he really has he has shown incredible promise. He showed it last year, and so far, I mean, it's starting to look like maybe our original ace never left. I don't know. Maybe it's a little early to say that, but anyways, Tylor Megill. The main question is, do you feel confident with Megill at number 1 right now until DeGrom comes back? I'll go right back to TonyMetro. Tylor Megill.
I don't feel confident with him as our number 1 until Jacob DeGrom gets back. Okay. I want to take a few steps back. Megill has been excellent. I was a huge fan of his early on last year, and I really thought he had a lot of poise and showed a lot of just bulldog tendencies like we like to rave about with DeGrom and Scherzer. I definitely think Megill has that, and he's got nasty stuff. I mean, the stuff is there. I'm not expecting or pinning him to be the number 1 starter and like the stopper in this rotation until DeGrom gets back, though. Obviously, that's going to Scherzer, and I think the next guy up obviously would be Chris Bassett, but there's no doubt that I have a lot of faith Tylor Megill is going to be in this rotation to the end of the season, and he might step up and at times be the second best pitcher in this rotation. If DeGrom doesn't come back, he might end up being the best pitcher in this rotation for points in time during this season. So, I would like to say that I was expecting this, but I didn't think he'd be this good. And even going back to last year, I was a big fan of his, and I thought he's going to be good, but I never expected him to be as dominant as he has looked in these first 2 outings. So to be the number 1 starter in this rotation until DeGrom gets back, I don't know about that, but I certainly think he's going to be in this rotation for the rest of the year. And hey, how could you complain about this guy being your quote unquote number 4 behind Chris Bassett if you get a healthy DeGrom back at some point this year?
All right. Well, for those who also are wondering, that skill interactive earn run average, batted ball metric, we won't get into the deep details. Anyways, I mean, it is possible. Perceived velocity is incredible with the amount of extension that he has. I mean, he's a very big guy. So I'll go to Frank Megill at the number 1. Do you feel confident with him maybe possibly replacing DeGrom for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has pitched really well. What I like is they were talking on the broadcast, the last start doing against Philadelphia, about how he wanted to emulate other tall pitchers. And I noticed this, and then he said it exactly. His new form looks so similar to Zach Wheeler to me. Just like the first motion that they make, it looks like Wheeler. And now the guy is throwing 99, which Wheeler was throwing with the Mets as well. And we saw Zach Wheeler have those stretches as a Met where he was absolutely dominant. And it's unfortunate that they never got to keep that guy. I would love to. But I just think that, you know what, it's good that they have somebody that has filled in, because we had the question marks all year. We don't know what's going on with DeGrom. Megill has come in. He's pitched really well. Like we said, velo is up. Mechanics are a little different, but he's getting the job done. So you have to feel good. As far as like a number 1 doesn't really exist until the playoffs start. That's where you have the whole, this is your 1, this is your 2, this is 3, this is your 4. It's just the guy that's filling in for DeGrom. He's doing a great job. So just keep it up. And, I mean, if he keeps this up, he'll definitely stay in the rotation. How could he not? So I definitely feel really good with him, and I hope he keeps it up.
All right. Hayden, do you feel confident with Megill at the number 1 spot for now?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, not necessarily. In my opinion, and I think what makes the most sense is you move each guy up. I don't really know exactly why Showalter wants to do that. It doesn't really make much of a difference until a guy like DeGrom comes back or Walker. But moving up Bassett, Carrasco, an extra spot up, I don't really see the big deal in that. But I think Megill definitely proves himself to be worthy in this Mets rotation. I don't know about the first spot, but definitely a 3rd, 4th, or 5th starter. Don't get me wrong. It is his first full season for the Mets. So I would really hate to put that much trust, faith, and confidence in a guy that has only so many innings pitched in the major league and in the minor leagues. The minor leagues, he only had like 73 innings pitched max season. So he's going to pass that June, July. So, I do get a little worried there, but his performance is looking really good. I mean, he really is. The velocity increase was ginormous for him. He was at like 98, 99 this last series, and now he's hoping to get to 100. You don't need to throw hard to be dominant. It's, everything from movement to release point, which he seems to have. And I would probably encourage him not to throw harder, because I think we all know what that means. I'm not going to jinx it. But yeah, I mean, I think he's been a solid pitcher for the Mets so far. I mean, 2-0. I mean, if you want to get basic, 2-0, 0 ERA. I mean, can't go against that. So yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily say the first spot, but I feel confident in him in this rotation overall.
All right. Andrew, Tylor Megill, I was told. What do you think?
Kind of like how Frank said, who cares where the number 1 starter only matters in the postseason. Oh, he was the first guy that pitched on opening day, and Aaron Nola pitched the first game for the Phillies. And if you ask Philly fans, they want Aaron Nola down in the minor leagues. Who the hell cares? Like Frank said, it doesn't matter until game 1 of the postseason. That being said, he has pitched tremendous. I will give him credit. He's looked like rookie DeGrom. I'll give him that. Fireball and throwing 100. Having 2 starts, 4 good innings, cool. Pitch well, he's have fun. It's against the Nationals, which literally I can go out and throw a nice little 4-inning shutout against the Nationals. Just have my cutter sinker going off. Not throwing 100, but I'm Bartolo Colon, and that ball's gonna keep moving. Did impress Phillies team, which their bats have been quieter than, the Oakland A's in the offseason. Besides, Bryce homering the last AB of this series. Castellanos is the only guy semi-hitting in that series for the Phillies. But again, good batters, dominated. Let's pump the brakes with this DeGrom crap. He's pitched well. He's taking DeGrom's spot as, he was the first guy to pitch the season. He's pitched well. If he's throwing 99 and the curveball is working, cool. Be productive. And like Tony said, when we're fully healthy, he's a way better 4 than Taijuan Walker. So if you're going to a playoff series with DeGrom 1, Scherzer 2, Bassett 3, and then you're going Megill 4, if he keeps this up, I don't think nobody wants to. If we get in, I don't think anyone would want to play us. But again, it's two 4-inning starts, or maybe was it 5? Both of them went 5. Sorry, my bad. 2 5-inning starts. Let's get into June, July when weather warms up, when the offenses warm up, and let's see if he keeps doing it. If he keeps doing this, I won't say anything else. But it's April, first week in April. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
No. Okay. 8th round pick, 240th overall. I don't know, something around there, right? Back in 2018, I know that.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
But anyways, I mean, we all know I've been a Tylor Megill fan from the very beginning. This is dating back to an old tweet of mine back in May of 2019. The intimidation, the explosiveness, the demeanor, the competitiveness. I mean, this kid's got it. He really does have it. Now, he's expressed that he wants to gas 100, which is fine, but I do ask to be careful. Again, like most of us have said, we saw what happened with DeGrom. Just be cautious. I've said it so many times that this kid can be an ace. So, I mean, all he's doing is proving me right so far, and I hope that he continues to do that because he has looked incredible in 10.1 innings pitched so far. But other than that, Tylor Megill, if we want to add anything else, we can move on to the next thing on the menu. All right. Let's talk about another pitcher who's definitely not as good as Tylor Megill. Taijuan Walker has been placed on the IL due to shoulder. Should I even try to say it? They're just making shit up at this point. Bursitis. Okay,
yes.
They're making shit up at this point.
The dreaded shoulder bursitis that derailed the career of Ambiriox Burgos circa 2007.
I remember that day. That was tough. That was
Awful.
a tough one.
Frank was 41.
Jeez. Getting emotional just thinking about it. Anyways, after 2 innings, he was removed from the game on Monday night, and he has also expressed knee discomfort as well, which was the same knee that he had surgery on this offseason. That was a surprise to all of us. We're like, oh, great. But I guess what we're looking at for now is, how should the Mets fill the number 5 spot in his absence? Should they do a bullpen game? Should they assign it to, a specific starter? Should they call someone up? I'm going to go right back to Andrew Acevedo. Taijuan Walker, how should they fill the number 5 spot? Or I forgot numbers don't exist, apparently. That's what I was just told the last one.
The pitcher who pitched the fifth game of the season.
His spot.
I mean, continuing the point of how Tylor Megill looked great, Taijuan Walker was making the Phillies look like a Little League team. So, for only 2 innings, striking out 6 of them, the 6th splitter was looking great, whatever. Now he's hurt. What's new? How they do it, this is the Trevor Williams, David Peterson. You can pick your poison, who you want to start, and have the other one bounce off it. There you go. Gets them both work, and yes, maybe if you lose another pitcher, if God forbid somebody else falls out, you're losing your long man. But if you're going to bunt like we thought we would do with Taijuan or Carrasco, the idea of, hell, put them together. One pitches 3, they both pitch 3 innings. That's 6 innings out of your bullpen or 6 innings of the game. You figure out the last 3. You could do that. There really isn't anyone out in AAA. Mike Montgomery. I mean, my name, which it continues to be dealing tonight, is my man Jose Budo, but, I would like him more in a bullpen role. If you're going to use him now, I probably would prefer him in the bullpen. But, Tylor Megill got called up last year, and look what happened. I'm not saying Budo is Megill, but who knows? That's really your only option down in the minors. If you want to sign like a Brett Anderson on the free agent market, I think he's available. Guys like that, or the trade value right now for guys is still high. Even a guy like a Luke Weaver or someone like lower like that's probably going to cost you a solid piece of your farm, or JD or Dom. You're not going to waste those guys on just a random desperately need a pitcher. There's you would like to save those guys for something big. So for me, just kind of bundle the Peterson and Trevor Williams. Again, just try to use them and get them the work that, Showalter's like, everyone's got to get work. Well, there you go, boys.
Okay. TonyMetro, how do we handle this bruciness from the shoulder?
So, the simple answer is to go to Trevor Williams for the time being. I thought he did a pretty decent job in some spot starts in 2021. I don't know how much you can really rely on that now here in 2022. Maybe that was just like a little flash in the pan from him. So I'm not banking on him stepping in and pitching as well as he did last year. If we want to get really creative about it, we need to get into some world politics, and that would be sending James McCann back where he belongs, as you've always said, and that is to North Korea. I can't watch James McCann anymore. I just can't do it. He's terrible. We got to find a way to get rid of this guy. And my first instinct is to get creative and try to call up the Arizona Diamondbacks and try to pry away one of their stars, a guy like Caleb Smith. And if you could find a way to get a guy like Caleb Smith and also add the kid from their, not a kid really anymore, but their catcher, Carson Kelly, and get James McCann over there, send in a prospect on that, take the $25 million on his deal. I'm just trying to wring my head with an idea to get rid of James McCann because I cannot watch this guy frame like this anymore. It's so bad. And his ground ball percentage, forget it. He's terrible. So that's my first instinct, is to try and make a trade and try to do something like that. That one sticks out to me. Carson Kelly's in the last year of his deal with them. If you throw in a good enough prospect that could bring him and a guy like Caleb Smith, I'm not talking about one of our top 5 or 7s, but I would do a Khalil Lee. For that deal to shore up the rotation with depth and get a legitimate catcher that can pop 15 home runs. And last year had an on-base percentage over 340. Right now we're getting zero production out of the catcher. Why don't we try and kill 2 birds with 1 stone? I'm just spitballing here. Not my finalized idea, but ta-da.
Yes. Thank you. Ooh. All right. We've already gotten into that multiple times. Yeah, we'll get into the catcher position later on, but listen, James McCann slander, all here for it. Frank, about sports, how do you feel the spot of the brucidicitis?
Dave Peterson did pitch really well when Taijuan Walker exited. It depends. Like I said, you could go Peterson, you could go Trevor Williams, because other than that, what else are you going to do? If you don't make an external addition, what you're looking at in the minor leagues is Thomas Sapucki. It is Mike Montgomery. It is Budo. Maybe when Josh Walker is healthy, do you rush calling him up? That's really all things that there's there to consider. So as of right now, you have to just maybe you give Peterson another chance, and if he doesn't do well, then you give Trevor Williams a chance, and maybe just have them battle it out. And whoever is better, they could be the guy. And we don't know how long this is going to be. They say 10-day IL, but Buck said he still needs to do at least a couple minor league starts. So it is at least 10 days because he still hasn't gotten built up his arm all the way now, because he exited that spring training start early. He exited this start early. So he hasn't thrown, the 5 innings or the pitch count that you would like him to be able to throw if he's going to be a starting pitcher. Because if he's only giving you 23 innings, then you might as well just start a Peterson and Williams, because then it doesn't have the value. It would destroy the bullpen each outing. So you want to just give him the chance to build up his arm while not hurting your major league team. So they can start off with that and then go from there. If it turns out to be a thing that's more long-term and he deals with another injury, then it's okay, now we need to get on the phone. Do we need to talk to Arizona? Do we need to talk to Cincinnati? Or what other teams might be available? The Twins are already in last place again. So you never know what team is going to struggle. So that's always something to keep in mind. But as of right now, they just roll with the Peterson-Williams combo.
Okay. I'm trying to think. What about Wilmer Font? He available? What's up with him? Chris Capuano? Want to call him up? You got tons of You could tell him the options.
Ariel
Sean
Hirado.
Markham.
Oh, what about our boy from 2 years ago, the Brody pickup from the Phillies?
Oh,
Oh God.
Franklin Killamay.
No,
Oh,
white guy.
White. Oh God. Very just white. Phillies white guy.
White guy.
That's
off.
offensive.
Oh,
Ike
Oh,
off.
yeah,
What's he up to these days? He must be on the
yeah.
Long Island Ducks with Conforto.
Hell, can we just what's on the Long Island Ducks roster? Whatever we just
Oh,
sign one of those
Wait,
guys.
Conforto got cut by the Ducks. I forgot. He's a free agent.
Oh my God. Is that it? Do we take a shot?
Well, maybe
Okay.
he's got to go play in Korea. That's what he's got to do. Get his value to play in Korea.
Hey, can we? Okay, I mean, listen, if we're trying to send James McCann somewhere, I know I always am talking about Korea, but like Japan, I mean, we can send him to Japan, right? Tamayuki Sugano wanted that guy over Trevor Bauer last year. Why not see what you can get for him? I mean, his value probably went down. I'm pretty sure he got injured last year, so see what you can do. Get creative again.
Right, off topic. How good is
McCann
Seiya Suzuki? Guy is hitting bombs. Oh my God.
Whew. Love that guy. Love that guy. Hayden. Filling Taijuan Walker's spot.
Yeah, sorry. I think obviously, yeah, I mean, it's going to be questionable with Walker. Obviously, I will say he looked pretty good in his last start. I mean, he was throwing really hard with the split finger, the increase in the slider. His performance looked pretty good. I mean, it makes sense why he was taken out. And obviously, we know he was more so taken out earlier than expected because of that injury and not so much because of his knee. As of right now, I mean, who's going to take over that role? People say, do you have an opener? Well, you don't have the bullpen depth really to do that. I mean, so that's kind of out of the window in my opinion. You could make a case for David Peterson. I get that. Also, another guy down the line, the innings pitched is a little bit of a worry. I like him in that bullpen. He got out of it with the Nationals, but point is, his command looks a little iffy. Who else we have? Obviously, you have Trevor Williams, also another fair pickup. But then it's really it. I mean, like I said, the minor league depth, I mean, isn't really anyone that's like, ooh. But, hey, I mean, you never know. I mean, no one would have thought that Tylor Megill would have pitched like this, when he made his first start against the, I want to say it was like the Brewers or Cardinals or something like that. So you never know. You see how these things work out. But as of right now, I mean, I guess you'd be going for a Peterson, a Williams. I know Tony Watson's still on the market. I mean, I don't really know why the Mets don't go after him. Left-handed pitcher. Obviously, that could really have some type of remedy to the lack of left-handed pitching on this team. And, yeah.
Were the Mets at Tony Watson's showcase? Were they? Okay. How many teams were even at that showcase? I mean, he's older now, so
I think it was 12 teams were there.
12 teams.
12.
Okay. Quite the sweepstakes, shall we say?
Sweepstakes.
Yeah. I mean, for the first time in a long time, Walker didn't completely piss me off. I mean, he barely used his fastball, and wow, I mean, he looked great. I mean, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's like I know what I'm talking about. Go fucking figure. But anyways, I think the best is obviously letting him heal on the IL, and then send him to the rehab starts. I'm glad they're not trying to rush him because they know about the injury stuff in the past. As for the spot right now, I think Trevor Williams is the guy. I do like Trevor Williams with his type of simplified type of plan that he has out there. He's not the greatest, but as for a 5, he's pretty solid. That's what his value is. He can pretty much fill any role, even though I do like him as a long reliever. He's there to give you the quality innings. So, and that's what you really need from the 5 spot. But other than that, anything else we can add on Taijuan Walker or the rotation, how you do it, anything else, and then if not, we'll move on. Yeah. Anything else? Nope. Okay. We mentioned his name a few times in the last segment that just ended technically 3 seconds ago. Now, right after Walker left early, David Peterson came in for a long relief, and he was excellent. 4 scoreless innings, couple walks and hits, but overall, really great outing. So overall, should the Mets rely on Peterson a little bit more going forward? From the takeaways from how well he pitched, I'm going to go to Mets talk with Hayden. Should the Mets rely more on Peterson in the future?
Maybe in a bullpen role. I wouldn't say so much that starting rotation because it happened last year. He was on the opening day roster as that 5th starter. And, I mean, he was a gem in April, and then coming May, I mean, he just really got lit up. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, and I've expressed it a million times in the past, I like him in the bullpen role, get the innings pitched up. Obviously, you need a lefty in the bullpen, so that could really solve that. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He did have a solid appearance against the Phillies. I mean, his stuff looked good. Yeah, he gave up, a little bit of hard contact, slider. He does have a lot of pitches. I was looking at his Savant page. He does have a lot of pitches, so nice arsenal can always come in handy. As of right now, I mean, I don't know how much they would want to rely on him in the rotation, but definitely a bullpen role would be nice.
Okay. Frank, should they rely on David Peterson more in the future after that outing he had in Philly?
I mean, ideally, you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, the guy pitched well one game. Let's have him be in our starting rotation no matter what, because you know the saying, if he did it once, he does it every time. I don't know who came up with that saying, but I just think that it's kind of like I was saying earlier, what's the alternative? It's like if you don't use David Peterson, who are you going to use? Like you can use Trevor Williams, but like you said, we prefer him to be a long reliever, but it's just that things are kind of a little out of whack now when you're down 2 starting pitchers and you didn't sign a bunch of other starting pitchers. You lost 3 in free agency. Like, wouldn't be too bad having Rich Hill right about now. Like you lost 3 guys, so you filled in with a couple guys. So again, you never really added to what you had. You just kind of replaced and swapped. So as of right now, they're going to let him have another chance and see what happens. Because like Ann said, like we've seen good David Peterson. We've seen bad David Peterson. So we'll see what happens. I hope we get the good one. And, I mean, does he eventually go into that lefty role? Because I don't know if we're going to get into the roster moves eventually, but would you have David Pearson or Joey Rodriguez? I feel like they might have a battle for who's going to get that last spot on the roster and who's the guy that's going to get sent down. So I think that's always something to consider because he is left-handed, and that's always something to have in your advantage, particularly in this bullpen.
All right. TonyMetro, should they rely on Peterson more in the future?
No, I don't think they should, but we don't really have a choice at this point but to do it because we've had so many injuries. So David Peterson's going to get his shot. And so far he's 1 for 1. He did really well in Philly. That being said, does anybody here that watched that series, all 3 games like I did, really think that Philly lineup lived up to its full billing? I don't think so. They're still shaking off the cobwebs. That lineup is going to mash. And the Mets kind of caught them at a time where they kind of were cold, but not to take away from the Mets pitching, they did well, but I really didn't think he looked all that sharp. That first inning that he came in relief, I just thought he was struggling to find the zone. I don't think he has great swing and miss stuff overall, even dating back to last year. So he's a guy that kind of needs to hit his spots, and he doesn't do that often enough to set himself up for success. So can he be a serviceable guy that gives long relief outings on occasion, gives a spot start? Yeah, I think he's going to be that swingman for this team. I think it's kind of nice that he's a lefty too. It throws another little wrinkle into a team's game plan. But I'm not saying he's going to be this, oh my God, reliable, can go to him at any point in any game or have him start at any point on any given day kind of guy just because of one pretty good outing against the Phillies lineup that I think really couldn't hit water if they were falling out of a boat this week. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I know they scored 6 yesterday, but they really didn't look all too great for most of those games until like 1 or 2 big innings against the bullpen. But that's my take on it.
All right. Andrew, David Peterson, should they rely on him?
Again, like pretty much everybody said, he's all you got. So you gotta have to, unless like everybody said, trades made or they sign like a Brett Anderson again. Like I said, they sign some random vet off the street. This is who you got, and I will give him credit because historically, him against the Phillies never seems to go well, especially in CBP. I remember plenty of Rhys Hoskins and Alec Boehm just hitting absolute bombs off him in 20. Was it 19? Should have been 19, right? It was 20. No, it was 20. Okay, it wasn't 20. Okay.
2020.
In 2020. I remember him making starts at CBP and just getting absolutely shelled. So, him being able to eat 4 innings, not give up a run in CBP, tip your hat. It's very hard to get out of CBP not giving up a run, but it's all you got. So, you can play, like I said, using him and Williams, play the matchups. Like, let's say it's a lineup better against righties, put Peterson on the mound. Lefties, it's Williams. You could do that. Again, not guaranteeing him anything, but still getting him work. And especially how Buck's been earlier in the season, everyone's going to get work. So, again, he's the kind of maybe the Mets see him more as a starter than Trevor Williams. Like we've said, Williams is more seen as a long man. So then Peterson's going to get the start. He'll get at least the first crack at holding off the maybe 2 weeks of not having Taijuan Walker. Hopefully it's only like 3 starts. So again, like Hayden said, hey, he was good in April. Give me a good April and turn to shit in May when you're not in the bullpen, when you're not in the rotation. I'll take it. So give me 2 solid starts, 4 runs or less. I'll take it and move on. But he's all you really got. So you have to rely on him again, unless you're going external and making a trade at a price that maybe you don't want to do right now.
Okay. Well, I think and like Tony said, he didn't look completely dominant. But it definitely was a confidence booster for this guy who has definitely had a lot of shitty ends of the stick recently. But I do think that they should trust Peterson a lot more than a lot of other people do, because I do think this is a role that he can succeed in. And I've said this a lot. I've always had my concern about Peterson is probably not a major league starter. And he's always had the good enough stuff to be a reliever, and that's really what I like about him. So by all means, if you want to develop a reliever out of this guy, please. If he's going to start, he's going to start. Again, like we've said, there's not really many options. But I like the guy as a reliever. I think Trevor Williams is probably the guy to go to as the starter, mainly because he's just kind of proven that he can do that over David Peterson a lot better. So I don't know. I believe that he can be a good reliever. I think he can be a solid option, but it's going to take a while because he's definitely not there yet. If there's anything else we can add on to with David Peterson, other than that, we'll get into the main bugaboo, I guess, of the first week. We're all good? Okay. The Mets bullpen has definitely started off a little spotty. You have to admit. We've seen some concerning outings from guys like Sean Reed-Foley, Joely Rodriguez. We've seen a little bit of struggling from Seth Lugo, some struggling from Adam Ottavino. So 1 week in, I think it's just easy to say, should the Mets be concerned about their bullpen? Should we be concerned about the Mets bullpen? I'm going to go right back to Frank about sports.
I think it's just going to be, like I said earlier, how they're going to manage the whole, guys pitching 2 innings and things like that. Because, like I said, we don't have the expanded rosters, and you're not always going to have an off day every week. So there's just going to be times where it's like, okay, we have no one to go to. Oh, we're going to go to so-and-so in the 8th inning in a 1-run ball game. We really don't want to. It's like, oh, Joely Rodriguez, you're going to face a right hand when you really shouldn't be. So I just don't want to see it be a spot where like guys are put in situations they shouldn't be. Having Edwin Diaz back does help a lot because everybody kind of moves down a spot, Ottavino doesn't become the closer, he moves down. So it helps out in that regard. And then once Trevor May is back into the fold, okay, that's another guy that everyone else kind of slides down. The guys who are pitching in high leverage maybe go down to like a lower spot in the rotation and in the bullpen. So, it's really annoying that like they could be 7-0, but that no bullpen is going to be perfect, no team is going to be perfect, but it's been the main cause for their first 2 losses. There was some defense and things like that, maybe too many runs left on base, things like that. But again, those things happen as well. But I'm just curious to see again how Buck is going to handle this whole like a guy won't be, because if you pitch a guy 2 innings, he's probably not available for another 2 days. So it's just a matter of managing all these guys and off days, who's available, who's not available. Don't warm a guy up and not use him, things like that. We saw with Trevor May. So I just think it's all going to come down to, especially not so much now, but when they have a 26-man roster, I think that's where we're really going to find out, like, okay, can everybody actually be counted on in any different type of role? So I think that's something that's.
All right. Tony, should we be concerned about the Mets bullpen?
Absolutely, yes. And I think a lot of us were saying that on this platform before the season even started. We saw Aaron Loop, our best reliever from last year, leave. We weren't really sure about Seth Lugo after, last season, obviously the worst season of his career. And so far, it's pretty much looked the same as that. Joely Rodriguez obviously had a great first outing, really has not been very good as next 2 since then. I'm definitely concerned about this bullpen. I'll give credit to Drew Smith. He's looked really solid so far. We'll see how long that lasts, because we've seen where he's been really good for a stretch and then go back to, looking like a minor league pitcher. So I'm really not sure what Drew Smith is. But all that being said, here's, I think, the even bigger concern is, I know Billy Epler's the GM now, but outside of acquiring what's his name? The guy from the Diamondbacks.
I was going to say, the Bears only got really
going all the way back to 2015. What the heck was his name?
Addison Reed.
Outside of Addison Reed, and I know Sandy's not the GM, how many other big additions have the Mets really ever made in the middle of a season to fix their bullpen, or even in the offseason for that matter? Like, obviously they did trade and get, Jerry Blevins, but like, we're talking 5-6 years ago, the Mets seem to constantly neglect the bullpen, and I'm not so sure I trust this brain trust to go out and improve it in the middle of this season if that's the case. I mean, it's clearly the weakest link on this team. I think the next would probably be the defense in some sport, So for me personally, like, I just don't know how much I trust Sandy and company to go out and make the necessary adjustments and do it in a timely manner, because usually when Sandy Alderson's been the GM of this team or in any way affiliated with them, they go dumpster diving. They try to find some lightning in a bottle for some guy that's, got peripherals of whatever, this and that, and they don't actually bring in that big name elite reliever. Sometimes that ends up blowing up in your face. Look at the way it went for the White Sox and Craig Kimbrell last year. But I'm just saying, with the way it currently stands, I don't love this bullpen. It is a concern of mine. I think it's the weakest link on this team, and I am definitely concerned if Sandy Alderson has the guttural, with whatever, ability to actually stomach bringing in a big name reliever that this team I still think desperately needs, because Trevor May looks shot since we acquired him.
Okay. Hayden, should we be concerned about the Mets bullpen?
100%. Yeah, I mean, what we've seen, I'll say this. The Phillies bullpen looked better when we played them. That says something else. And don't get me wrong, I think the Phillies bullpen has improved. I mean, some guys like Alvarado have been huge. But looking at the Mets, they had a horrible offseason when it came to fixing the bullpen. You downgraded. You lost Loop, and you replaced him with Shreve. You lost Castro. You placed him with Rodriguez, who has been phenomenal so far. Like, he walks the ballpark. Probably even more now. Yeah, I mean, I just look at this bullpen and I just say, I'm worried with Lugo. I'm very worried with May. I'm worried with Rodriguez. And like I said, I mean, could you call back up Yenzi Diaz? I mean, could you put Peterson in that bullpen role? I mean, maybe Jordan Yamamoto, a guy like that. I mean, at this rate, it's just going to come to, quantity over quality, I think, when it comes to this team's bullpen. And that's pathetic. Because someone said in the chat, if you want to pin it, 2019, why did the Mets miss the playoffs? because of Edwin Diaz. You know, Mets can't have that crap with 10 or not 10, but 6 blown slaves from Trevor May and 2 from, John and whatever. Can't have that. So the Mets bullpen needs to do something. Like I said, Tony Watson's out there. I mean, just come to a point, sign the dude. Overall, yeah. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and go after Buck. I mean, like I said, they're the ones that are actually doing something. The command is the big thing, because not many guys on this bullpen are throwing strikes. I mean, you see their command thrown in the dirt, and yeah, you could blame McCrap all you want, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to this bullpen. I mean, you look at the starting pitchers' numbers, and they're awesome. They're elite, well, one of the best. Then you look at this bullpen, and it's just, what are we doing? So Mets really did neglect the bullpen this offseason, and that's why Mets neglected their bullpen completely. You downgraded. You did.
Okay. Andrew, should we be concerned about this bullpen?
Partially. Yes and no. Early in the season, obviously look at the 2 biggest blowups. Who are the people who are in the middle of the blowups? Joely Rodriguez and Sean Reed-Foley. 2 guys who in a month from now, if they continue to pull, Sean Reed-Foley's probably gone the first time. Maybe when Walker gets healthy, he's getting DFA'd. He's out of here. Joely Rodriguez, like Frank said, is probably not going to be on this roster. So there goes your 2 biggest headaches early in the season, the 2 big blowups. It's been involving those 2 guys. Those guys are off the field, off the team. Who cares? Go through it. Diaz gave the BS homer to Harper. Otherwise, looks great. Lugo, again, cleaning up for Joely Rodriguez. Yeah, he gave up the hit to Didi to blow the game, but he's coming in, runners at the corners, clean up. But Joely's mess, he didn't get out of it. That's on him. 2 other outings. Not elite Seth Lugo, but he got the job done. May has been the concern. For me, May is the question mark, because May is supposed to be this big strikeout pitcher, and in the 2 innings he's pitched, he hasn't gotten a strikeout. He's putting the ball's been put in play. He hasn't gotten a single strikeout. Yes, there's only 2 innings at work, but May's supposed to, you expect if May comes in, he's going to get a strikeout in the appearance. No strikeouts. Ottavino, you don't bring out, he gave up the runs yesterday in Philly. You don't bring Adam Ottavino in with runners on. You give him a clean inning because he'll walk somebody, but you're not going to bring him in with runners in scoring position. You don't bring in Adam Ottavino. Again, coming in for Joely Rodriguez. Drew Smith. If Drew Smith has pitched well, if he continues this, can he take the Seth Lugo role? And then now you're lowering leverage for Lugo. If he continues, I'm not saying he's going to be that, but let's say if he continues to pitch this well, he's going to give up a homer, but he does. But if Drew Smith becomes in the Seth Lugo role, now Seth Lugo doesn't have to be a high leverage guy anymore. And then Peterson, Williams, okay, the extra long man. Every bullpen, look at everyone was clapping. Oh, the Braves had a great bullpen. Kenley Jansen's got the same ERA as Joely Rodriguez right now. And Colin McHugh, his first game on, but 3-run homer to our good buddy, Brendan Drury. It's early. And yet you could spend money on the big names. It doesn't always work. Yes, I agree with Tony. The Mets do need to spend more money, not go full-on sandy ball, penny pinching. But you got to make at the deadline, if they don't get a rental free agent, I haven't really looked that far at the deadline. But if there is a high-quality rental from the free agent market, the Mets got to pounce. And if the bullpen is the big Achilles heel, like Tony said, they got to make that move. But also, can they find guys who can be good for 2 to 3 week stretches as that 7th man in the pen? Because we know the big 5, Diaz, May, Lugo, Ottavino, and if Smith is going to be that, that's your big 5. You got Shreve as your extra lefty, your 7th and 8th man in your bullpen. Can that 8th spot be a guy that, if you find a waiver wire guy, gets hot for 2 weeks, you find another one to get to the deadline. So should there be concern? Of course, because, Diaz is going to blow a game. Diaz is going to probably blow a couple games. That's what he is. That's what all closers do. Liam Hendricks does it. Hader only does it because Hader's not real. Hader is just an anomaly of a reliever. But Hendricks does it. Gallegos do it. All the best relievers blow games. If they can control them and keep them to a minimum, obviously the stuff is there. If you look at the stuff grades, who cares? If they get results, that's all we really care about. Should we be concerned? Of course. That's always been the Achilles heel with the Mets. But can they get to the trade deadline with this pen? It's possible. And again, you get rid of Joely Rodriguez, you get rid of Sean Reed-Foley. There's your 2 biggest headaches off the team so far, the first 2 games. So the 2 games that they blew. So it's been okay. It's early. But you just get to the deadline. If there's arms to be had and the replenishment of the farm system after the draft, If there is that guy they need to get another back end guy, I hope Epler would get it. Like Tony said, Sandy's been quiet, but maybe Epler does make that push to go like in 15 when they got Clippard and then they added Reed and waiver wire. So just let's see, and let's get to them. Let's we're all going crazy. It's been 7 games, guys. Like let's get to the end of April. Let's start seeing, let's just get a month in to be full on panic mode, or we'll see.
You only need stuff. That's it, man. You need the high stuff grade. That's all you need, and you'll dominate. Frank, the bullpen, should we be concerned about this?
Yeah, for the second time, yes. We should be concerned. Like I said, the only thing that I worry about is okay, you get rid of Reed Foley and you get rid of these other guys, but if the starting pitchers aren't going deep into games, it's going to get to a point where it's who's available? I feel like at some point, that's why I get worried. I don't want to see guys overworked and then guys who are looking pretty good aren't pitching as well because they're getting tired out. I mean, we saw it, I forget, with Jason Street the first time we had him in 2020 where he was pitching good. They kind of just ran him into the ground and he wasn't the same. So I just don't want to see the same thing happen again. But I mean, again, we won't know until those rosters actually do cut down, and then we'll see from there. I mean, if it's still a problem by then, and I mean, again, we'll just see who's available because there are going to be some relievers that nobody was talking about and are going to have a good year, and then maybe those are the guys who target the deadline because they're actually having that good year. So it's something that always it's like a work in progress. But I mean, with Tony Watson, what I always say when it comes to relievers, the longer offseason goes or season goes with them unsigned, the worse they're going to be. I mean, it happened with Shane Green. I mean, everybody wanted Shane Green. Got to get Shane Green. And then he ended up in the minor leagues at some point. He bounced around every team had him. And, even when Kimbrel signed in, was 18 or 19 in the middle of the year, he wasn't any good. So I just think that it's never a good idea to get a guy that's a free agent. You have to do it while the guy's in the major leagues pitching well if you're going to make a move. But again, I think now that Diaz is back, hopefully Trevor May, like I said, is back this weekend, we'll get a much better idea of exactly where this bullpen is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. These numbers right here, these are all accurate right here. Okay. I think
that was as for yesterday. I don't know if it's updated or not. So
all right. I think every Mets fan would sign up for their bullpen to have these kinds of numbers right here after 7 games. I think we're being a little reactionary because the only 2 losses the Mets had fell in the hands of the bullpen, one of which being a 4-run lead that was evaporated in the 8th inning, right? So I think that's a big reason why we're like, oh my God. But there's definitely some issues in the pen. There's no doubt about that. Some of these guys clearly have shown that we have some concern. The other thing, I just want to dispel this kind of notion right now that we're just going to wipe our hands clean of Joely Rodriguez. One of the big things that all the reporters said when this trade was made was that the Mets liked the idea of him, not necessarily because he's a lefty, but because he's under team control for more than just this year. So that was one of the biggest things that was reported, unless there was something that came out afterwards and said otherwise. But the reason they did that was because Miguel Castro is a free agent, and going into next year, the Mets would only have about 2 or 3 relievers signed to the major league roster.
Wasn't Rodriguez?
Yeah, you want to take it for his Hayden?
What
happened?
Wasn't Rodriguez a free hit? Wasn't Rodriguez hit? Wasn't Rodriguez set to hit the market 2023? I thought hit them in the Yankees.
Yeah, that's what I think Frank was. He's not under team control anymore. Yeah, it's like some option crap in his contract. He's a free agent after the season as well. He's not. It's not. He does not have the years of control.
Yeah.
I brought the same thing up in my video because I read that too. And
it says free agent 2026 on his day.
That's what I said. And apparently them and the Yankees never got it.
Yeah, so he's technically a free agent. It's a 1-for-1 rental swap, pretty much.
What?
Because it was weird contract negotiation.
Cashman
they couldn't come to an agreement, and there was an opt out. It was I forgot. I think Sherman tweeted it out after the deal was done. It's a one. It's really
send him to Korea with James McCann. He's got to go.
I did check. By the way, yes, those are the updated for the Mets bullpen. So maybe they are elite. So. But as for worrying about this bullpen, I think, and listen, I might be in the minority here, but I think the answer is no. I don't think you need to worry about this bullpen right now. Most of the shortcomings, like we've said, are from guys that won't be on the roster when it's cut to 26. Not to mention Chasen Shreve and Drew Smith have looked fantastic. Edwin Diaz is dominant whether you like it or not. But I think we can all agree that this bullpen, when Diaz wasn't here, it looked fantastic, right? I mean, it looks so good. But yeah, I think Trevor May is also banged up. I think let them get healthy again. We also didn't get the pitchers and catchers to report as well, so I think that they're also gonna continue to, go through these things. But once it's by May and they're still having these blunders, that's when you start to hit the panic button. You're saying, okay, what the fuck is going on here? Let's not have a replay of 2019. But yeah, I think they need to get into the groove right now. I am a little concerned with like how pitchers' arms are as of right now. The Mets, I just looked at it. The Mets starters lead the majors in innings pitched. So it's not really, yeah, that's crazy. I did not, yeah. And they also have an off day too. So that's actually pretty crazy. They have 35 innings pitched. I'm going to guess that, it was it Bassett that maybe fluctuated that? I don't know. But 35 innings pitched, and then the next one is 34.2, which is the Padres. So you are getting the work that you need them to. I mean, no one's getting pulled out of the game because they've all looked great. So we'll see, but you're still getting 22 innings out of the bullpen. I mean, it could even out a little bit more, especially with the injuries to Taijuan Walker. We don't know. So I currently don't think there is much to worry about. Again, stuff grades are high, so we're all good. Frank, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the one thing, if we are to be concerned about something, it's May.
Yeah.
Somebody gets hurt. Guess who's back in the bullpen? The guys we were talking about. That's the concern.
Yeah.
I think we have to be concerned more about, like, okay, if any of these guys do get hurt, like if Diaz ever, like, where are you turning to? That's where you get a little concerned.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a new thing because we didn't really see many injuries in our bullpen last year.
It wasn't.
So
yeah, Lugo.
I don't know.
And that was the beginning of the year. Lugo was hurt, and then like everything kind of worked this way. But
Yeah. Food for thought here with how good Megill has looked in his first two starts. If DeGrom is back and healthy by, June, best case scenario, the way Walker looked in those first two innings and not throwing his fastball as often, I mean, is it crazy to think that maybe he's better suited in a bullpen role where he's just throwing a 2 or 3 pitch mix? Because he looked pretty nasty against that Phillies lineup. And I mean, again, I know I kind of wrecked them, but I'm just saying, obviously he's got health concerns, this guy. He cannot be a reliable starter, it doesn't look like. I don't know. It's just you're going to have to mix and match.
I thought Metro was trying to make DeGrom the closer.
I was going to go over it.
I thought Metro was trying to make DeGrom the closer.
No, but I don't know. Would you consider Taijuan Walker maybe is better suited as a reliever? Because clearly the starting pitching role is too much for him, and that's been evident his entire career.
Yeah, it's possible. It is possible. And we have another year of this guy. He's going to opt into that next option, especially if he keeps missing time like this. So, I mean, that was kind of like the concern they had.
Million, so maybe
that was the one thing that they tried to solve with Robert Gesellman too, but he still kept getting hurt too. So I don't know. It's a possibility.
I think
Alex
eventually
Claudio's
a 6-man rotation, but
yeah. When everyone gets healthy, it has to happen. Like it just has to happen.
I thought that idea too, but what did Max Scherzer say about when he left the Dodgers this year? He doesn't want to be in a 6-man rotation, pretty much, is what he said.
So I'm guessing Max Scherzer really preferred when the Dodgers had him start on a short rest instead and he got hurt. That had to be much better. So,
dude, he says he got hurt because he didn't start on his normal routine.
Psycho, bro. He doesn't work like everybody else. He just wants to pitch.
I said when we
skip
signed
Walker
Max
2
Scherzer.
days and have Scherzer pitch 5 and he can shut up and skip DeGrom and pitch him like once a week and we're good.
Look, like what I said,
as
when
much
the
as he's
Mets
getting
signed
hurt.
Max Scherzer, it's like the hottest girl in the school is now dating the nerd. I will do anything to keep Max Scherzer happy. Whatever
And if the hottest girl in your school has 2 different colored eyes, you got a problem.
That just means she's a freak in bed, Frank. Come on.
All
Well,
right.
they call him Mad Max, so he's definitely.
Jesus
All
Christ.
right.
What have we got?
American Psycho.
You sure?
All right.
Wendell coming in.
But other than that, anything else we can add on the Mets bullpen? I know there's a lot of pent-up aggression against this.
Again, you don't think, Max Scherzer went 5 innings his first 2 starts. I can say confidently Max Scherzer will not be consistently going 5. I think he'll be pushing, 7, maybe 8. So at least you hopefully on if Scherzer stays consistent, you're going to maybe have to use 2 relievers on a Scherzer day. So maybe it gives you the flexibility. And hell, even Bassett's the same way. Bassett just wants to eat innings. So hell, if you got Schnurzer and the Bass dog going 7 each every start, I'm not gonna say every start he's gonna hit it, but 6, 7 every start. You don't want to using 2 relievers a night. There you go. You're saving innings there. Hell, if Tylor Megill over there is gonna start going 7, it all gonna value is how deep the rotation goes. The rotation goes deeper, the less of the bullpen you're gonna see, the better. The more fresh these guys are gonna be. So that's always gonna be a big thing.
Is that an inside thing that the two of us have never said outside of the two of us? Schnurzer
and the Bass dog? Is that what everyone went crazy for?
Schnurzer and the Bass dog. Oh my god, I love calling him Schnurzer. All right, because it just he looks like a Schnurzer. You know what I mean? Anyways, yeah, you see, it makes sense, right? No, okay. But yeah, other than that, that was another thing in the chat. Yennsy Diaz pitched pretty well for us last year. He had his shortcomings. Alex Claudio's another one who had a good spring. Jose Buto, who's looked fantastic tonight. I wish I would be watching it right now instead of
watching
talking
it right
to
now.
you
He's
people.
looking great.
How's Beatty doing? That's all I got to know. Is he hitting the ball in the air?
No, he took a call 3rd strike with the fanny pack.
All right, send him down.
But
other than that, we talked about a lot of pitching, so let's get to hitting. All right. Mark Canha has hit the ground freaking running. 8 for his first 21. He's rocking a 500 on base percentage as the hottest hitter in the lineup so far. I mean, it might be Nimmo right now, currently, at the moment. But what do we think of Mark Canha? But the main question here is, how big of a surprise has Mark Canha been? Because, he might be just like this little white guy, but, he's got game. He's got game. I'll start with TonyMetro, who's been flexing Mark Canha. You can go ahead.
Knew it all along. Not a surprise. No, I mean, we did our off-season grades, and I remember giving him a good grade for this. The high OPS guy, hits for some average and a little bit of pop too. And I mean, just going based off the eye test here, though, I'm just gonna say it's nice to see a Mets outfielder that can swing the bat with 2 strikes or with 2 outs fearlessly and actually be trying to drive in runs and not draw a walk or to try to, work himself back in the count. And I mean, honestly, it's just been super fun to watch. I mean, I don't know how to answer the question. I thought he was going to be good. I didn't think he'd be this good, but obviously it's only the first week of the season, so I don't expect him to be hitting 350 or whatever for the year, but he should be a guy with a very high on base percentage. And so far he's shown that he puts up really good at bats, and he's even driving in some runs too. So, I mean, it's been great and hell of a bargain compared to what Conforto would have got. So happy for that.
Oh, well, that outfielder that you were talking about just a few seconds ago, I understand that Guillermo Heredia was tough to watch, but he was only here for a little bit. So, but I'll go to Mark Canha. How big of a surprise?
I just like that he takes a lot of pitches every single at bat, because the 500 on base percentage or whatever, I mean, the 178 WRC plus, that's not going to stay the whole year. Yeah. But I think what will stay is his approach. And I think that's just, we talk about building good long-term habits. I think that's always good, because even if he's not getting on base every time, when it comes to just the way baseball works in a series, if you're taking a lot of pitches every single at bat, you're still having a productive at bat, especially when you're facing a team like the Phillies, who are supposed to have a really bad bullpen. The quicker you can get to that bullpen, the best way to do it is by constantly working the count, constantly putting together good ABs. So I just like that. And then, you know what, he does have a little bit of an approach when runners on base, then maybe he'll swing a little more. But other than that, he's not really chasing. You're not really fooling him. He's not just going up there, swinging first pitch, pop up. He's not just going up there striking out 3 pitches. You know, he's just always doing something. So I just think that's something really good to have. He played, center field opening day. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. Like, if we were saying, okay, we talked so much, who's going to be Mets opening day center fielder? Nobody said Mark Canha, you know, so I definitely think that certainly was a surprise. And that's a good thing that you have that versatility, you have that flexibility, because we know Nimmo's injury prone and Marte is not allowed to play center field. So it's always good to know that you have Mark Canha as another option. So I definitely like that.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of with Mark Canha, because I know that he works a lot of counts. Like that's one of the biggest things that he does. He wears down pitchers a lot. Marte does that a lot too. The first thing I thought of, Zach Wheeler. You have to get to that man early. You got to tire him down, and that's what the Mets did. Especially with, you know, he was coming off of an injury too. He was going to be on a limited pitch count. So that was definitely something I was like, okay, we've got an advantage here. Mets talk with Hayden. How big of a surprise has Canha been so far?
Yeah, I mean, Canha's been really great so far. I mean, obviously, like I said, you know, people were looking at his basic batting average and his OPS last year. You know, don't pay attention to that. Like you guys kind of said, he gets on, you know, he will give long at bats. And having him and Nimmo in that lineup is really good. I actually like him kind of batting towards the tail end of that lineup, because I think it's really good to have someone in that 6-7 spot, maybe that 8 spot, that'll be like a high average Nimmo type of guy. So I think that is good there. Obviously, he's been solid offensively. I mean, he's been providing a lot of production. I mean, you know, point is he gets on base to a high extent. I mean, whether it's the walk rate, taking a lot of pitches, like you literally just said, he's going to wear pitchers out, and I think that's extremely important. Last year, we saw so many times where the Mets were swinging first, second pitch, and it drove me nuts. I'm saying take pitches, work the count, you know, get comfortable in the batter's box. Canha, he is awesome for that. So I love Canha Corn. Hopefully, maybe he'll start hitting some homers soon. I love that, but just continue what you're doing. Defensively, he's fine. I like it. But offensively, he's been a man on a mission. Yeah, obviously, you know, he's not going to finish the season, you know, with the 178, you know, weighted runs created plus, but, you know, we'll take it for right now.
All right. Andrew Canha. He's amazing, isn't he? Go ahead.
He's the Chad. And to complete Tony's, you know, what Tony said earlier, calling Scherzer the most beautiful girl in the school, Mark Canha is the ugly nerd, because this man doesn't do anything. He is so awkward. Trying to catch the fly ball. He's like, sturdy left. Huh? Like, even him hitting, he is the weirdest person I've seen play baseball.
How about his relay helping out Seth Lugo so much?
Yeah,
he looked like Pete Alonso rounding third base in the rain. And then he threw it in the dirt to Lindor, throwing a changeup, ruining Lugo's ERA. So appreciate that. That was great.
That was the right thing to do. But no, he's an awkward man. He's a very awkward man. Very white.
He is a very, 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 very Caucasian individual, but he is the on-base Chad. That's what he is, and that's what he was paid to do here. I like Hayden said he likes him at the bottom. I have said I want the on-base overload at the top. Give me a Nimmo Canha 1-2. That's 20 pitches at opening day start right out the gate. Pitcher's got to probably throw 6 to 8 pitches per AB, and then you're going to Lindor and Pete. Or hell, if you really want to go overload, Nimmo, Canha, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, Lindor, whatever you want to go. Have the bases loaded. Give pitchers absolute fits in the first inning. Just absolutely aggravate them. So the pitch count, like we did with Ranger Suarez, 28 pitches in the first inning. You get Canha, Nimmo, Marte, 1, 2, 3. You know, any order you want to do it. If Nimmo lead off, I don't really care. Marte, whatever. As long as those 3 guys, and in front of the guys who are driving the runs like Alonso and Lindor, McNeil and Eddie, that's a pain in the ass lineup to start the game. So he's doing what he's doing. He's a great MLB to show card. Give him a Tops Now card, please. I'd greatly appreciate that. What he does, we really haven't seen him kill left-handed pitching, which historically he does. mean, he really hasn't
Yeah.
done well against. Like, he's had a few ABs against that, like the Phillies, one of like 9 lefties in the Phillies bullpen. Really hasn't done much against the left-handed. He had to get hit against Ranger Suarez in the first inning, but really not much else against lefties. But it will come. That is,
Yeah.
that is good.
Mm-hmm.
So no bad results, and definitely the WRC plus might go down maybe 30 points. So it won't be at 180.
Okay.
It'll be like 135, 140.
Okay. Yeah. Mark Canha, man. This is what I'm talking about. Like, he shows his value any way that he can possible, day in and day out. And like I've said, he's got all 5 tools. We haven't seen the power yet. Love to see that eventually. If he wanted to, you can get your 15 to 20 home runs from him. But all I'm saying is that you always see a quality at bat from this guy. And that's something that, I love. We saw what the Royals did to us in 2015. We talk about this all the time. They wore us down. 16 pitch at bats, 13 pitch at bats. Jerry's Familia almost had a heart attack on the mound at least twice in that entire series.
So did we.
But yeah. Yeah, I've loved this guy for a while, since 2015, since he was called up. So happy this guy is a Met, but I'm sorry, Dad, I apologize, but it happens. But other than that, Mark Canha, Woody from Toy Story, anything else we want to add about him?
Yeah, there has been one flaw, but that was the flaw we knew it was coming. He is very similar as that outfield that he's replacing. That he has. The difference is he's had 10 pitch ABs and then takes a fastball right down the deck. Like he's done that a few times. He's done that where he's taking fastballs right down the middle. Where I'm like,
But he
you
makes
draw
up
like
for
6
it.
pitches, 7
Shut
pitch
up.
AB. There's nothing better to hit, and you're just gonna go, oh, okay. And that was kind of the thing like we were told from like the A's per side. Like he'll take close pitches. He's looking up there to go get a walk, a 3-2 count. He will take a close pitch, and if he gets called out, he gets called out. But there's been a few times where like just fastball right down the middle. He's just like, oh. Okay.
The umpires have also been horrible, so they must not like white people.
Free Julio Rodriguez. Yeah. Julio Rodriguez might have a freaking lawsuit coming against MLB umpiring. He's not even 2 weeks into his career.
Is it like Aaron Judge, who always gets screwed? Poor Aaron Judge. But other than that, let's get to the main event. Let's get to the topic where we can scream at the top of our lungs. The Mets catcher position. So far, this thing is done. This position is done bupkis. Bupkis, okay? One can't even lift the ball. His defense is trash. He's a confirmed terrorist. The other one's got great defense. Can't really hit at all. There's not really much that we can do right now. But with the pitcher no longer batting, it seems like the pitcher is still batting. So what are the thoughts of what the Mets can do for the time being? Like, is there any solution or anything anyone just wants to get off their chest of how bad this position has been for the first 7 games, maybe a little bit longer? Andrew, I'll start with you. I know you've expressed some frustration. The catcher position, what do we do for now or for the future?
I've just had an epiphany right now. What to do? First off, Pete's the full-time DH. Second off, Dom Smith's getting traded. Third off, McCann's going back to first. It's the only time he's ever hit anything. So McCann goes back to first. You get offense from James McCann. Fourth thing, send Tomas Nido, go watch some Pudge Rodriguez highlights, and then go take steroids like Pudge Rodriguez, and then come hit here and try to hit like him. Go watch him, go take his steroids, and then go start hitting like him, and then you can be productive with your elite framing. I don't care. Robo-umps are coming soon. I don't care. James McCann, I try to be the troll and defend him because it's fun. The guy next to me, to my left, not my right. There's the war criminal, whatever. The most productive thing you've done this season is get hit almost in the head. That's the most productive thing. And one of us celebrated that accomplishment. I have said, and I've said it very angrily, you're not seeing Francisco Alvarez this year. I don't care. I don't care. He's Juan Sotoing AA. Hell, if I don't see him by June, I'm a riot. Because if this continues, if Tomas Nido keeps coming up, and it's always them. It's bases loaded, nobody out. Who's up? Oh, it's either McCann or Nido. Fucking course it is. You know, it's never Shithead. It's never Lindor. It's never McNeil. It's bases loaded, nobody out. Who's coming up? Oh, yeah, Tomas Nido. He's 0 for his last 69. Can't make contact. Only ground. He's worse than McCann. Like, at least McCann puts the ball in play. How do you get Tomas Nido? Just throw 3 sliders in the freaking other batter's box. Tomas! How does this guy go from winning a batting title in AA, not even like rookie ball? He won in AA, which is like, you know, some solid competition, to not being able to hit a fastball. Both of them. Get them on the bus and send them to Korea. I want the bus to just go underwater. If they drown and they survive, whatever. Just get them out of here. Don't give me Bazika. Don't give me Hayden Senger. Just get him up here by July. If he continues to hit. He's off today. He's raining up there. Don't get him injured. They said his defense has improved. I don't care. Get him up here to hit fat nukes and bat flip.
Okay. Tony, you kind of hinted something at the beginning, how you felt about this catcher position. What should they do here? What
Also,
anything you'd like to
sorry.
vent?
Also, sorry, headphone users. I am sorry.
No, and Andrew, you nailed that. Every time they seem to have a rally going, it always seems to be James McCann or Tomas Nido coming up to the plate. I mean, every time it seems like. And Tomas Nido rolling into a double play the other day. I mean, just on cue. There's not a lot they can do. I don't want them to stunt Alvarez's growth and bring him up too early. I don't think he's ready to be a, battery mate with Scherzer and DeGrom and command that pitching staff. It's just a lot of responsibilities for a kid that's not even the legal age to drink yet, right? He's 20 years old. I mean, I just don't think it's a good idea for us to bring him up and potentially, stunt his growth like the Joe Adels and the Jared Kalenics. I mean, they're outfielders. Think about what it would do to a catcher. So as much as I'd love to see that be the case, but look, the catcher position all around the league has been down for pretty much the last decade. We're not alone in this. It just so happens that we happen to spend a lot of money on a really terrible one, being James McCann. So, I mean, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait at least a year minimum, I think, before we end up seeing this top prospect of ours come up and, hopefully be the catcher for the next 10 years of this team. Like I said, I'd love the idea of trying to pawn off McCann's contract. I just don't see that happening without paying up a huge prospect, which I just don't think is worth it, to be quite honest, unless we're getting multiple other players in return. Love the idea of that Carson Kelly, but you're not carrying 3 catchers. So if you can't find a way to pawn off McCann, I mean, then what are you going to do? So realistically, I think these are our 2 catchers for the year, and we're going to sit here and we're going to like it. And that's the bottom line.
You have what'd you say, Andrew? You said to.
I mean, I didn't say Alvarez had to come up and catch. I didn't say you can keep Nido behind the plate.
No, I don't think they're gonna bring him up to DH.
DH him. What are you getting value from Dom and Cano combined? What, 0 for 72?
I'm not saying I'm against doing it for the sake of this. I'm not saying
not now. They're not going to do it now. Yeah, they're not going to do it April 14th. I'm saying if this continues by mid-June and he's still hitting 576 or whatever the hell he's hitting AA right now, bat-wise, see a Dom. If Dom's traded for a reliever or starter and Cano's, has a Walker at first base, let him just come up and mash. Don't let him. You can keep, Ivan Pudge Rodriguez defender Jr. and Nido behind the plate. Have him teach from the dugout and just have him just absolutely rake. You don't have to go out at the deadline and be like, let's get another big bat in the lineup. No, just call it the tubby catcher we have in AA raking and just have him hit. Something to think about.
Hayden, the catcher position, how much does it suck?
Yeah, it's pretty shitty. So, last year I really bashed on Lindor, and I think it's honestly time for me to really just go AWOL on James McCann. This is the thing. Now that the DH was added to the NL, I kind of cut some slack on offensive catchers. Because last year, I didn't like having a catcher and a pitcher hit back-to-back practically be an automatic out. Unless you're talking, an elite catcher like, last year's Salvador Perez or whatever. As of right now, like you guys kind of said, I don't want to rush up Alvarez. He's 20 years old, and I've always expressed how I want the Mets to start calling up a lot of their minor league guys younger, except for the catcher position. Just because it's a much bigger role than an outfielder or a third baseman or whatever. Catcher, it's arguably one of the hardest positions. Why? Because you're in control of the whole game. Everything from framing, defensive metrics, blocking the ball, whatever. Offensively, Alvarez, no worries. He has power. He's going to hit moonshots. No worries. Defensively, I think he's there, but, there's always room for improvement. Doesn't hurt. So, like I said, 2023, I think, is an ideal time, and that's what, they have his ETA at, and I think that's realistic because you only would have, what would it be, one more year, full year on the McCann contract, or 2 more years, whatever?
Too many.
This would be This would be McCann's second year. So, okay, so you have 2 years left. Exile him to, I don't know, Antarctica or somewhere. Yeah, I mean, McCann is just, I don't know. There were a couple frames where I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then there was a couple other frames where I'm like, bro, what are we doing? I mean, screwing up the Mets bullpen, whatever. And I get it. Our bullpen, a lot of guys don't, they have, secondary nasty pitches. So McCann has no idea how to catch them. And it seems we're going to be getting more time out of Nito, regardless of the situation. But Showalter wants to put Nito out more. So, I mean, I'm not against it. I mean, Nito's a defensive catcher. And, I mean, I can't really say anything for McCann because, I mean, the dude can't lift the ball off the ground. Although he did hit a couple hard balls to center, which resulted in outs. But I don't know. Maybe keep doing that. But as of right now, I guess just admit defeat, wait 2 years till he's gone. I mean, wait till next year when Alvarez is up and say thanks, Cohen and Anderson.
Alderson. Frank, your all-star catcher. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say?
Well, the chances of him making the All-Star game are not off to a good start, so that bet is not looking too wonderful right now. If anybody took that bet, I mean, the odds aren't looking great on that, but, it still is early. I think it's interesting that Bucket has pretty much gone just about as 50-50 as possible. Like, it's really one every other day. So if that's what he's going to do, it's what he's going to do. But I guess, like, since you have the DH, even though we haven't really gotten much from the DH, I think, honestly, if we still had our old rotation and, like, pitchers didn't get – like, let's say this NBA show injuries were off, I think I'd rather let the pitcher swing than the DHs we've had so far. I mean, that's how bad the combination has been. I mean, when we had DeGrom and Syndergaard and Wheeler, Max raking, Bartolo, like, let them swing the bat, forget the DHs we have. So you lean the defensive guy. You know what? You let Tomasito catch. He's the guy that's there for defense. But I always say pitcher preference. If for some reason there are pitchers that prefer McCann, then sure, why not? But I say, generally speaking, you have to use Tomasito because, like we said, getting rid of that Jason McCann contract is going to be really, really hard. And like Tony said, you don't want to lose a top prospect when, like, the solution is on the way. Like, there is a solution in sight. It's just not ready yet. So you don't really want to, like, rush something like that. So they're going to have to write it out for now, and then you just see what happens from there. But that's just the situation they're in. I hope it doesn't become a thing where, like, this really is hurting them. I don't know how much longer Tomasito could just bunt when, the bases aren't loaded. So I feel like eventually that's going to kind of get old and teams are going to be playing for it, but we'll see.
All right. Well, I don't think I've come on to the show and really went after McCann a lot. And I think it's time that I finally do that again. I think it's time to open the record books. I think it's time for another historic Carson rant. To be honest, I don't have much to say on Nito because he's a good defender. He sucks at hitting. I mean, whatever. But start Nito, send McCann to Siberia. Like, I can't deal with this guy anymore. I really can't. He's a certified ant killer. He swings at the shittiest pitches possible. How did anyone think this was a good idea? Like, okay, this isn't a bargain, Frank, about sports. This is foreign embezzlement, all right? James, you seriously should be ashamed of yourself for how fucking shit you are at this sport. I mean, you're not worth $40 million. You never were worth more than $40 million. I never thought that we could find a worse catcher than Anthony Recker. But we finally fucking did it, guys. History was made. He's unathletic. He's lazy. He has zero talent. Get the fuck off of my team, you pasty, overweight Pillsbury Doughboy reject made of armpit farts and expired cake frosting. I have had enough of this guy. Seriously, he sucks. Oh my God. Anything else?
I think McCann's awesome. I mean, honestly, I think we should deport him to North Central Island. If you guys don't know where that is, Google it. Has some great history there.
Oh my God. I can't stand it. It's just he's so bad. I can't do it. I can't. He's worse than I expected him to be. Like,
how much of that?
That's how bad he is.
How much of that monologue did you write? There's no way you recited that off the top of your head.
I had a few notes.
I know it.
Yes, I had a few notes. But most of it, I mean, he stinks. He's awful. I don't know what to say anymore. He's just awful. Whew. Anything else? And then we'll get to our closing tradition.
I don't think he's lazy. I just think he's bad. And you're not wrong when you say that we may actually have a worse catcher than Anthony Recker. Yeah, you may actually be right about that.
It's torture. I can't do it. I've never seen someone be in the 9 holes, like just the 9 hole like every day, and be so noticeable. He's so bad. Like, it's just
him. I got a baseball card today.
I'd rather have Jason Bay behind the plate. Like, and I've seen some really bad Mets catchers. I have seen some really bad ones. Anthony Recker definitely comes to the mind.
Hi, Josh Tolley.
Josh Tolley caught a no-hitter, so he's okay in my book. Dude couldn't hit a lick. God, it's bad. It really is.
Forget the immortal Devin Mesoraco.
Kelly Shopik, Omir Santos.
He actually hit for a little bit,
Mike
but he was quite the ass.
Mike
Mike Nickius.
You guys probably don't
Juan
remember,
Centeno.
Mike DeFelice. Do you remember him, Frank? Oh, God, he was so bad.
I never thought I'd miss Ramon Castro so much.
Yeah,
Jason
Phillips. Oh, Jason Phillips. Oh.
Yuck.
I honestly think we might have a better chance with Paul LaDuca right now than the guys at the plate.
Sign me up.
As far as hitting, maybe not defense,
it's all about intensity here, and that's what he brings.
Yeah, he does bring some intensity. And confirmed a absolute heater inbound for Tomas Nido and James McCann in the next 2 weeks after this video has been uploaded.
Hey, good news. Phillies are getting smacked by the Marlins 4-1.
I'm watching it. That's
nice.
Yeah, this is enjoyable.
And Trout hit a cock shot, like a absolute cock shot, 112.9 exit velocity. Insane. He destroyed that thing. I think he's still the best player in baseball. I think it's safe to say that he still is, and he's still got some talent.
No, his teammate exists, so, God forbid.
I'm sorry.
All right, what do we got left here, boys?
All right. Final one. This is going to be our tradition for the end of every single week. Our way of evaluating players, studs and duds. We're going to pick somebody we liked, someone we disliked for the week. It's pretty self-explanatory. We'll have a graphic up on Twitter, something really nice. I won't be lazy with most Mets Weekly graphics. But other than that, studs and duds of the week, I'm going to just go right around the table. We'll start with studs. Obviously, let's be positive for once. Andrew Acevedo, studs and duds of the week. Your stud.
Do you want better? Who doesn't want better?
What the? My stud of the, obviously, it's got to be the man who made my birthday feel so much better. It's Brandon Nimmo hitting absolute the first one was an absolute cheap shot, but a bomb the second time in game 3. This power from heel Nimmo, taking the Barry Bonds treatment of just taking a good protein shake before the game and hitting bombs, hitting curveballs, which also Nimmo really hasn't, for his career, is not a great breaking ball hitter. He's hitting 2 curveballs in the series. So, stud of the week's got to be heel Nimmo.
Okay. Frank, stud of the week.
Drew Smith. I mean, he came in, whether it's 1 inning, whether it's 2 innings, you can't get a hit on him. You can't even reach on base because he's so dominant and that good. So, I mean, you couldn't be any better than he was. So definitely Drew Smith.
All right. He's finally turning the corner. He's finally realizing the greatness of Drew Smith. TonyMetro, stud of the week.
All right, I'm kind of in between 2 guys. They're both pitchers. Honorable mention to Canha, of course, but I'm going to give it to Edwin Diaz. He looked really, really good this first week. Dominant in these 2 saves. Obviously gave up a home run to Harper. No harm, no foul. 4-run lead, solo shot. Okay. Didn't really walk anyone. I think he has issued 1 walk so far in 3 appearances, and the slider has been tight and nasty. I have hated him and given him a lot of grief in the past, but I'm a Mets fan. I am hoping to be wrong, and I am so happy so far that he has proven me wrong, and I will always eat crow when I am proven wrong, and Edwin Diaz has been a stud so far. So let's just hope that it continues.
Speak it into existence. All right. Hayden, stud of the week. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with I'm actually going to go with Tylor Megill. Megill was phenomenal in his 2 starts. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, he can give up a single run. Keep in mind, even going into spring training, he has yet to give up a run. He's been phenomenal. The velocity increased, mixing up his pitches. He's been looking really good. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tylor Megill as my GOAT stud.
Okay, I think we're gonna continue the shockers. We've had some with Tony and Frank, so I'm gonna continue shockers. I am going to apologize for now. I'm gonna apologize for now to Eduardo Escobar. Now, he has been doing what all prestigious hitters do. He gets on base. This man's got 9 walks, right? I mean, he's got more than Nimmo and Canha combined. Is that what we were talking about? Yeah,
he got more walks than Nimmo and Canha combined.
Even though he is kind of mid-tier in my opinion, still, his approach is refreshing. He can actually hit the frickin' ball in the air. So I still don't think he can come through when it matters, but we haven't seen that yet. His defense, even though he has looked good, I still have questions with it. That's just me. But I will always give credit where it's due, and he deserves it. Well done, but tread lightly again.
Sheffield just hit someone real close to the head. Oh, boy.
Jesus.
Oh, boy.
Are the benches about to clear?
Imagine.
All right. But tread lightly again, Escobar. I've said the same thing about McCann in spring training last year. How he impressed me. He looked good. We all know the aftermath. So I'm not an easy customer. Well done to Eduardo Escobar. Overreaction. Best third baseman in the league, in my opinion. So let's get to the duds. Right back to Andrew, who sucked.
I'll let the guys have the obvious one, because this is we'll go with the one that not a lot of people talk about. Dom Smith. See, now you know how I feel every week. Dom Smith. This was a guy who couldn't be traded for pitching depth. He has the great spring training, but then we can't trade him for an extra starter and an extra reliever. Could use that right now. And then, he's going to have this breakout year. He was good in 2020. He had that 1 AB in 2019 where he had a game-winning 3-run homer that I was at that game and I left to get. I was at 7-Eleven getting a donut when it was happening.
That was the one time you get a donut, right?
Of course I was getting a donut.
One
But
time.
I left the stadium. I had to get a Mountain Dew and a donut. And as soon as I walked out the store, I heard in the car, and Dom has hit one out of the ballpark. And I was upset I missed another walk-off. I'm good at leaving games when they get walk-offs. Besides the point, he's been as productive as Robinson Cano, who we all want to send a career with James McCann, Tomas Nido, Joely Rodriguez, and everybody else on this team that we hate. But I was told, and yes, he's only had about 9 ABs. Don't get me wrong, but he's not hitting the fastball. He's taking like 7 fastballs again, just unlike Canha, right down the middle. And I'm just like, do we need fat Dom? Because do you want a cookie? That was a cookie. You're not fat anymore. You don't want to eat because that was a fastball right down the middle. He's taking them, and then he's swinging like has been his flaw. You get fastball elevated, swings through his uppercut, and so my dud of the week is Dom Smith.
Yeah, he you have to place the pitch like high and away, and then he'll clobber it, but they're not doing that.
Nope.
So it's a good pick. Frank, dud of the week.
How about Sharmeed Foley? I think what happened yesterday was really bad because you're in a situation where was it like 8-1, and all of a sudden Sharmeed Foley, you couldn't get anybody out, and it becomes a real competitive ball game. And then eventually you had to bring in Acevedo, you had to bring in Luke, you had to bring in Diaz into a game that, like, if Sharmeed Foley had just been decent, you could have maybe just done him and then maybe Rodriguez, and that's it. Like, you didn't need to use all these other guys. So I think that Sharmeed Foley, like, if you're trying to make the roster, what happened yesterday was not the way to do it. So I'll go with him. Because I was going to take Dom. Like, I had Dom circled. I had this whole thing to say on him. I just think the fact yesterday, like, 3 strikeouts, really? I mean, you're the DH. You're the DH, and you've been, like, the worst hitter on the team. Like, the DH wants to be, like, one of the better hitters on the team. Like, oh, now we can add this guy to the line. Like I said, like, I have the pitchers hitting right now with the way the DHs have been.
Yeah. Sean Reed Foley's been brutal. Not going to lie. I do like the upside of him, but, like, he's been brutal. He has really been brutal. TonyMetro, who's your dud?
Okay. Based on expectations and going back to last year as well, Trevor May. I mean, like, we thought we were getting like an elite 8th inning guy that could strike out anybody. He obviously was not that last year. And so far this year, came in, gave up a home run so far, now is injured. We'll see if that is something that persists throughout the season. But of all the things that we talked about when we were discussing the bullpen today, we were hoping that Trevor May in his second year in New York was going to be one of those sure things, a very few sure things in this bullpen. And so far, the jury's out on him. And I'm not really sure where he fits in with this bullpen and what his role can be at this point, because in a New York Met uniform, he really has not looked very good in about a year plus. So obviously his results were not detrimental to any result of a game, really. Did he pitch on Monday when they blew the 4-run lead? Was he in that game? He did. Okay, so
he got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt and then brought in whatever.
Got hurt. Okay, so then it was, but yeah, for me it's Trevor May.
Okay, it's an understandable pick. Hayden, dud of the week.
I'm gonna go with Robinson Cano. Like, I get it. A lot of people wanted to leave him in Florida. I mean, literally people on Twitter and Instagram were saying, leave him in Florida. His plane goes down. Bring him to the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know. With Cano, he just he needs juice. His power is gone. I mean, I see he hits the ball, and it's just a little blooper to the first base side. He's just, I don't know. He just has no pop in his at bat left, and I really thought he did. I don't know if it's because of the team. He's a victim of ageism. I mean, he's 38. It's old for a ball player. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really want him. He looked good with the glove. I mean, he looked slick. I mean, turned some double plays. With Lindor to Alonso, he looked good with that. So I'll give him that. But I mean, offensively, I mean, he just didn't seem to connect. I mean, he had so much contact, and it just was driven to the first base side, caught foul territory. Now, I'm gonna need more than that. And if Showalter wants to play this dude, 3 times a week, 4 times a week in the DH role or at second, I'm going to need more than that.
You know, Ray, for his average exit velocity percentile,
Oh,
10.
God.
He's in the 10th percent. Because, like you said, hey, like he puts the ball in play, but it doesn't even get past the infield. It is brutal, even when he does hit the ball. And he's, what is he, 7th percentile in chase rate. Like, the guy is just bad. Like again, if he had some juice, maybe. Like, he's hitting the ball, would actually go somewhere. But, oh, my goodness.
Genuine
I'll raise
question.
you even crazier. I'll raise you even worse.
Would you rather have Eric Campbell taking ABs right now?
I mean, how could you be worse?
He hits the ball hard.
Unlucky.
No,
Eric Campbell.
The highest launch angle of Robinson Cano so far has been a pop-up, right? And it's been like freaking like 55 degrees. Like Hansel Robles pop-up.
Did it get out?
This man's power is gone. It is just gone. I mean, no one expected that, but like, he looks just terrible. Anyways, I might get a lot of flack for this one, but Starling Marte, okay, listen, I love the play style. I think he fills a huge amount of weaknesses that this team had in the past. But the ground balls, man, they are freaking brutal, okay? I understand he's got the speed, but again, that's not a guarantee that you can secure with this guy. He does this way too much. Like, you're seeing him do this 3-4 times a game. You got to lift the ball somehow. You've been in the league for a while. You got to lift the ball. This is bad. He's a great player, but his weakness, I mean, it can be extremely costly when you have a rally going, especially a guy who's at the top of the order. The ground balls are brutal. That's all I got to say.
I was going to say, I think they actually should flip him and Nimmo, because then when Nimmo gets on base, you don't just get Nimmo out on a fielder's choice or a double play. So, like, this way, if, let's say Marte's a ground ball out, okay, then Nimmo gets up, draws his walk, at least Nimmo is still on base for whoever's batting third. Whereas you're kind of just, like, wiping him out for when he actually does get on base. So I think
Nimmo's hitting for power now, too, so he's a power hitter. So
all of a sudden, he's tied for the lead with Alonso and home runs.
Marte could always steal, too. I mean, so that also breaks up.
Like, so then
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Marte overall as a player has been bad so far. I mean, he's looked, he's provided his value. He definitely has. But man, the ground balls, man, it's brutal. It really is. It's just like when I can predict what's going to happen over more with you than James McCann, it's bad. But other than that, if we want to add anything, any honorable mentions for studs and duds or anything, but other than that, we'll close this out. Nope.
I mean,
one thing I do want to add that's not Mets
actually
related.
Honorable mention for a stud actually is Carrasco.
Yeah,
I think
Carrasco
impressed
great.
us all by actually putting in a good start, because
Yeah.
I mean, we all know it's like I think he gave up a home run in the first inning too. We were like, here we go. Nelson Cruz first inning, but he ended up pitching well, and it kind of got swept on the rug because they lost that game with the whole bullpen stuff later on.
It was promising. It was good. It was someone in the back of the rotation you needed him to perform, and he performed very well. Like, if you look at it from last year, he did have, 9 of 12 quality starts? He was Carrasco after that first inning. But it's like, he still wasn't himself. Obviously, there was things that were wrong, but he definitely looked good. Also, something I do want to mention, fuck Dave Roberts for taking out Kershaw yesterday. I hate that guy. I don't care if you won a World Series or a Mickey Mouse World Series. I hate that guy. Kershaw's a legend. You do not see perfect games ever. You've seen 23 in this history. Keep that guy in the fucking game. I don't care if it's the Dodgers. I don't care who it is. We need to see some history like that. Let the guy go for history. I know he was hurt, but 80 pitches, cut the fucking umbilical cord. Anyway.
So we're ranting. Oh, I wanted to
go ahead. Anything else you want to say, and then we'll close it out.
Well, if we're ranting about baseball, screw MLB umpires. Julio Rodriguez is like not even 7'6", and the strike zone's a box. Anything outside the box is a ball. And if if there's a ball about 9 inches outside of the box, it's not a strike. You can screw over Julio Rodriguez with the outside pitch because he's had the big strikeouts. He's the stud of the week. Absolute grass. Javi Baez at third base coach. But stop calling Julio out. You're taking away the excitement of Julio Rodriguez. You're like, 5 inches outside, strike 3, ring him up. Don't like J-Rod's sitting there like, what, the fucking blade get like 10 inches bigger on each side? Like, what is this? Justice for Julio. And Bobby Witt and Torkelson have been, no one's really taken over. Stop with the Bobby Witts running away with it. They're
What
both,
about
everybody's.
Kwan? Kwan's not running away with it?
Oh, well, he doesn't count.
Stephen Kwan's a goat, okay? He's a goat.
He's John
but
Buck.
If we're going to bring up
Joey
Joey Cora, we got to bring up Wayne Kirby. That man's expecting. We know he's expecting any minute now.
That man has a
That is a tank. That's a freaking tank.
Tank boy, yes.
I love that guy.
And I need a before the end of the season, we need a race. Pete Alonso versus Wayne Kirby. Who's faster?
I just need Wayne Kirby.
I'll freaking demolish him probably 5 times around the base pass before.
If you've seen how Alonso has been running, but
I think Pujols not running after today's
I need
outing.
Wayne Kirby and Bartolo Colon.
Freaking
I need Wayne Kirby. I need Wayne Kirby and Bartolo Colon. I need a picture of the two of those guys on Old Timers Day. That's something that we definitely need. Just we'll see if it fits in the picture frame. Yeah, why not? I mean,
call Mo Vaughn too.
Mo Vaughn.
Get all of them. Get Mo Vaughn in here.
Get all the Chunguses. Just get all the Chunguses. See how many you can fit in the picture frame without even moving, right? Okay?
We're going to need a panoramic
shot.
With 3 people.
Chunguses around the baseline. Just, that's it, man. But other than that, Andrew Acevedo, anything you got coming up? We can close this out.
Yeah, obviously we're still doing post games. Probably a new post game tomorrow for the home opener, and then probably Sunday as well, depending if I'm not in Kansas City on Saturday night. Potentially a post game on obviously tomorrow, maybe Sunday. Post games that, and this is a words of wisdom I will leave the children in the audience with, is that is nugs over drugs, kids. Be sure to eat your chicken nuggets.
All right. Mets Talk with Hayden. You can close it out.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Raging is the game. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Yeah, continuing doing a lot of live streams and all that stuff lately. And LFGM, and let's get this home opener. Let's get the home opener tomorrow, and let's go Mets.
All right, Frank About Sports.
Frank About Sports, occasional live streams, some other videos in between, things like that. But just excited that baseball is back and the games count. So let's go Mets.
All right. Well, productive one. We finally got somewhat to 2 hours. Our 50th episode. We're through 50 episodes. That's crazy. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully with even more happiness. Let's go Mets. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. It's in the top left, but it's not in the top left right now because it's being covered. Subscribe to the Mets Weekly channel. Turn on those post notifications to never miss our live show every Thursday night at 7 Eastern time. Join our Discord as well. All that stuff. Links are all in the description. We'll see you guys next week. LFGM. And
This is Frank.